I'm going to do a quick overview of a program called OBS Studio, which is basically screencasting software, but it's very useful for live editing of many media sources. So I use it a lot for making self-takes. It's much quicker than using video editing software simply because the software usually requires that all your media sources be of the same size, whereas this doesn't care because it records it straight off the screen. We have a series of scenes off to the left here, sources for each scene here, an audio mixer which you'll see in a bit, scene transition control, and then your basic control system off to the right. Up above, this is what you will see on the screen. So here I have a blank screen, obviously. I also have an image for my slate, an ID which basically consists of me doing the profiles, take one, the first attempt at making this recording, and take two, which I haven't put in yet, and I'll quickly show you what's involved in that. Select a media source. In this case, let's see, call it something imaginative. Find the file in question. There it is. I usually say show nothing when playback ends. Take that off because I want the scene to freeze. It doesn't much matter in this case. Now you'll see what happens is that when you go into the scene, it immediately starts playing from the beginning. I'll blank that out, go back to the ID, and you'll see there I am at the beginning doing the left and rights. And that's how it works. This upper field represents the screen, and this is actually what I'm controlling on the screen by flicking through the different scenes. I can control, as the audio mixer shows here, I can control the level of sound coming through. That's actually coming from the audio on the video itself, so I don't need to do anything more to that. That's not very good because it's not central, but I got a ton of control over that. I can just size and center. Ditto with the ID. I don't really want to see all this jargon off to the side, so I'll just quickly crop that and a little bit off the bottom because who wants to look at a skirting board? Then I can resize it to match. There I am in all my glory, right in the middle of the screen. Ditto with take one, just resize that to fit the screen. That seems good enough. Take two actually seems a little bit of a wider shot for some reason, so I can just do this and center, and there we go. I've taken care of the cropping. Super fast to do. And all I have to do now to actually create the video, hit the start recording button, slate, ID, these surrounds won't show up in the final one, take one, take two, back to blank. Obviously I'd let them, and then stop. Obviously I'd let them actually run to end. Now there's a rotten transitions between those because I have got that to cut rather than fade. So here's a nice little illustration of what that will look like. Fade in, fade out. What I like to do is to go, I won't record it, but what I'll like to do is start with blank, fade into the slate, fade out, fade into the ID, fade back to blank in between each one, and just control it from the manual clicking. Let that one run to completion. That's the final take. Fade it out. I'd stop the recording if I'd started, and I'm done. And I can now create a different version if I decide I'm going to start with the ID. No, if I start with the slate and then do the takes and then do the ID at the end, that's perfectly easy to sort out. Just a matter of a series of clicks and record straight on. So that's OBS Studio. Perfectly free, no watermarks, a lovely piece of software. It does require a reasonably high-end-ish machine to run, but it's not a ridiculously large download. Well worth playing with, in my opinion.